Right now on News 4 Today, we just heard from the Secretary of Defense about last night's U.S. military strike on Iran. President Trump's team satisfied with a record-breaking precision attack on Iran's nuclear program.
All three Iranian nuclear infrastructure targets were struck between 6:40 p.m. and 7:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, that's about 2:10 in the morning local time in Iran, with the Tomahawk missiles being the last to strike at Esfahan to ensure we retain the element of surprise throughout the operation.
We are working for you with new details on the attack timeline, what comes next, and what it all means for Americans in the Middle East and here at home.
News 4 Today starts now.
We're going to have a live report on that breaking news in just a few minutes. But first, on this steamy Sunday morning, we take a live look outside to remind you that we are in weather aware mode this morning. You got to know a few things.
We got to be aware. It's already 81 degrees here. It's going to be hot today and even hotter during the work week. Storm Team 4 meteorologist Ryan Miller is working for you this morning. He's going to join us in about 5 minutes to break it all down.
All right, well, now let's get to the developing story on the major escalation in an already dangerous conflict. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth just wrapped up a press conference at the Pentagon. He detailed the U.S. strike on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, saying that it devastated the country's nuclear program. Thanks for joining us for News 4 Today on this Sunday. I'm Adam Tuss.
And I'm Juliana Valencia. President Donald Trump announced last night that he ordered the strikes, escalating a conflict started by Israel just over a week ago. The news came first early Saturday night in a social media post from the president saying, quote, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. All planes are safely on their way home." The president added, "Now is the time for peace," in all caps.
Now, these airstrikes, which targeted the Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan nuclear sites, mark the first time that the U.S. has conducted a direct military attack on Iran. And this morning, Israel says more than 80 people have been hurt in the latest Iranian retaliatory strikes. The question now is whether this U.S. strike leads to peace or a larger Middle East war.
NBC national security and global affairs reporter Dan DeLuce joins us live with more. Dan, good morning.
Good morning. Really a lot of major news there in the past 24 hours. And what we heard from the Pentagon this morning was a detailed description of this unprecedented operation. So you had B-2 stealth bombers flying for 18 hours and escorted into Iranian airspace, and the Pentagon said today they believe they were not detected. Iranian fighter jets were not scrambled, and they did not come under fire, either coming in there at about 2 a.m. Iran time and flying out. The Pentagon said they dropped 14 bunker buster bombs. These are 30,000-pound bombs, huge weapons that have never been used in combat. Those were dropped on these nuclear targets, in particular, the one named Fordo we've heard so much about, that's carved out in the side of a mountain, buried underground, that was not reachable really by any other means. That was why the U.S. was called in, the U.S. stepped in. At least that's the explanation that the White House is giving.
Dan, the major question now, I think, for so many people back here at home is what comes next? You know, what should people be expecting?
I think that is the question, right? And so one scenario would be that Iran is basically on its knees, on the back foot at least, and struggles really to figure out how to respond. So another scenario is that they retaliate. They try to target U.S. troops that are based in the region. There are 40,000 troops in the Middle East, in the Gulf, within range of Iranian missiles, cruise missiles and ballistic missiles and drones. And they could also maybe try to stage attacks with their militia groups in Iraq and the Houthi forces in Yemen. So Iran has options, but they are severely damaged right now. Their air defenses are depleted. So it's unclear how much damage they can do, what kind of retaliation they can stage.
All right, Dan Deleuze reporting for us there. Thank you so much for that insight.
Thank you, Dan. Meantime, in his first public comments on the U.S. strikes, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu thanked President Trump for sending U.S. forces to attack Iran's key nuclear sites. Netanyahu says that the attack will, quote, change history and help lead the Middle East to a future of prosperity and peace.
History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace.
Meanwhile, back here at home, top Democrats in Congress are demanding more information from the Trump administration about its strategy, with some lawmakers in both parties questioning the legality of the U.S. strikes without congressional approval. And of course, stay with us for continuing coverage for all the fast-moving developments in this story. We're going to have local reaction coming up in our next half hour. All right, our other top story on this Sunday morning. All you got to do is step outside and you can figure it out. It is going to be sweltering. Temperatures expected to soar today.
Yeah, and right now we're already reaching 81 degrees, so make sure you have that water nearby if you're heading out.
For sure. Joining us now to talk more about this, Storm Team 4 meteorologist Ryan Miller. So how hot is it going to get today, Ryan?
Well, right. Well, so I almost dropped my clicker there. I was so concerned about the heat and bringing the information. We've got temperatures into the upper 90s later on this afternoon. The humidity values have increased. And I'll tell you what, we're going to have a very hot and sticky afternoon. Nothing we haven't seen before around Washington, with sunshine expected and a dry Sunday area-wide. Temperatures into the 80s already in many locations. We'll see temperatures tomorrow, actual air temperatures close to 100 degrees, actually, with feels like well above that into the afternoon and evening. And the extreme heat's going to stick with us not only as we start the week, it's going to be in the 90s through next weekend, folks. So little relief from the high heat and humidity headed our way. 81, as I said, winds are out of the south. That is why we are more humid, and we are expecting air temperatures to climb well through the 80s rather rapidly and into the upper 90s by this afternoon. Our forecast calls for 97, 98 degrees for an afternoon high temperature. Feels like it's close to 100. And a sunset tonight with 8:37 on the docket. We'll see temperatures tomorrow even hotter, and we'll talk about some tips on what you can do to prepare for the high heat, humidity, and how you can stay safe, you and your family, here over the next several days.
Okay, thank you so much, Ryan. And you know, as the temperatures keep rising, the clock, it's ticking for crews to clean up all of those trees that came down during Thursday's storms. They are also racing to get the power back on before the real heat kicks in. At last check, Pepco reported 31 customers are without service, and that means no AC. The thunderstorms, they knocked down trees, crushed cars, and even impacted some traffic lights at busy intersections. Neighbors who are still cleaning up after the storm say they're thankful, though, that this was not worse.
Yeah, hoping the power will be back by tomorrow, though. Well, it's a beautiful day, and no one was killed, no one was seriously injured, so we're grateful for that.
And officials are reminding everyone to be aware while driving, because we are still seeing some impacts left behind by that storm.
Yeah, it's been a busy couple of days, active for sure. And a reminder, don't be caught off guard by today's heat or the rest of this week. Now's a great time to download the NBC Washington app. You can get alerts, watches, and warnings for your area. You don't want to settle for that default weather app on your phone. Take the Storm Team 4 weather app with you. Get the latest information from the experts who live in your community. It's 9:08, and we'll be right back.